Hello, welcome back to Foods and Entertainment for my review of 1963's From Russia with Love, which is part of the James Bond collection on Blu-ray. I will be going over the plot of the film, the girl's opinion of the film, my opinion of the film, the kind of quality of the Blu-ray release, and a ranking of the film. Agent 007 Sean Connery is back in the second installment of the James Bond series, this time battling secret crime organization known as Spectre. Russians Rosa Club and her colleagues are out to snatch a decoding device known as the Lectra. Using a ravishing Tatiana to lure Bond into helping them, Bond willfully travels to meet Tatiana in his temple, where he must rely on his wits to escape with his life in a series of deadly encounters with the enemy. Okay. From Russia with Love. The Bond community, for one, actually considers this to not just be one of the most faithful adaptations of Ian Fleming's James Bond novel, but a lot of them believe this film to be one of the greatest spy movies ever made. Which means that you don't have to be a James Bond fan to literally take a look at this as a piece of art, of a film that represents how to make a perfect spy movie. And well, let's go to my opinion. But first, let's talk about the casual Bond watcher. The casual Bond watcher, this is one of the first James Bond movies and one of the only James Bond films that you can actually put on with a random person who is not a James Bond fan, who doesn't know who James Bond is, and they would actually like this movie. So it's one of those type of James Bond films. This is Connery at his most faithful. Is most faithful to playing the character of James Bond. For sure. Now, my opinion. I love From Russia with Love. In fact, quite often, if I'm in the mood for a random Sean Connery James Bond movie, I will usually gravitate towards From Russia with Love. Not to mention, really, one other James Bond movie that I would gravitate towards with him in it. But most of the time, even with the other one, which I will eventually get to, but it's not tonight, I find myself really gravitating towards From Russia with Love. I think that is a great spy film. I think it's a great James Bond movie. And in a lot of ways, it's one of the darkest chapters in the James Bond franchise. As early on as 1962. As early as 1963. And this is a good follow-up to Dr. No, which was also very dark, very serious, no jokes, nothing like that, just a little bit of soft, little dark humor every now and then in the movie, but nothing over the top, like we would eventually become of the James Bond films. Overall, I love it. And just like the first film, even more so than the first film, Dr. No, it really gave birth to the purest diabolicalness of a henchman that is actually a formidable opponent to Bond. The way I kind of look at the henchman, which is played by Red Grant, played by I always forget his name. Robert Shaw. Red Grant, played by Robert Shaw, is like the purest nemesis to James Bond in broad in strength. I mean, in intelligence, he's almost like the Bizarro versus Superman type of thing. You really get the idea that both of them are like that, equal to each other. And as for the main villain is very much subjective in this movie. You could say he is Rosa Club, also known as number 3, or number 5. I think it's number 5. The Spectre has these numbers for his agents. Or a lot of people could say that the main villain in this movie is Spectre. I actually believe that is the main villain of the movie, is actually Spectre himself. It's actually Blofeld. Although he's in the shadows at this point. But the overall atmosphere of it, it was just a great spy film. Just much like Dr. No, with Dr. No being a very sinister, scary villain. Blofeld's a scary villain in this movie. Although he's not called Blofeld. Just know he's number 1 in this movie. That's great. Now let's talk about the quality. This one just elevates what was so great about Dr. No in terms of his video and audio. And like I said, these films were restored in 4K, so you're getting your 4K out of this. Even if you had to manipulate the image a little bit to get it, you definitely are getting it, and it definitely does show. Things pop out quite well. The audio is still a mono being remixed into a 5.1 detached HDMA, but you actually have pretty good use of that technology, because there's some pretty good surround effects in this film. It's actually pretty good. Where do I rank this? I actually give From Russia of Love. Are you ready for this? I give Russia of Love 4 stars because it is quite literally a perfect movie. I know, it's weird. You're giving this 4 stars. Yes, I'm giving this movie 4 stars. I think it's an absolutely perfect film. It's my opinion. It's my ranking. It's all subjective to your own taste. But For Russia of Love gets a 4-star rating from me. And that's all there is to say about From Russia of Love from 1963. And I'll see you guys next time for my next review.